I know it's day by day, but ultimately, do you want to be able to bring a title like an ACC championship to
Oh yeah.
Louisville?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think everybody on the team's on the same kind of page, getting to the ACC championship and winning. Being at Louisville for about 3 years, I've been here, put in some real sweat equity. So, you know, it would mean something to finish it out with a championship and ultimately get into, the playoffs, doing something that they haven't seen in a long time here.
Definitely, definitely, man. And you mentioned, you've been here for a couple of years now, and that's always been the goal. When you're with spring ball just getting started and seeing what this team is capable of with the new pieces and the people that are returned, like, do you think it's a real possibility that this team can do something special?
Yeah, I think we have a really good chance. We have a QB from Ohio State, Lincoln. He's been pretty good so far. Uh, we had some added on pieces on the D line, linebackers are the same. Some added on pieces at secondary in our secondary. I think everybody's meshing pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned some added on pieces in the front seven. In particular the defensive tackle and the nose tackle, and then obviously Thompson on the edge. This front seven, I think, is super, super talented, super good with you, Cleve, TJ, all there. But what's it like kind of adapting to having new players on the roster that just came in like January? Is it like a learning process in terms of does a D tackle, does that affect how you play as a player?
It definitely does, but I think it's my job to make sure everybody is getting caught up to speed with how things are ran here. Given that I am shoot, probably the longest, been here the longest out of D line room out of everybody that's in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of my job to make sure everything is moving the same kind of flow as if, the team never changed. So I think for the most part, yeah, it'll affect how I play, but the more reps we get together, the more we'll be meshed.
Yeah, definitely. And so how has it been during spring ball in the past? I'm sure you have a couple of practices under your belt so far, I'm guessing. So what's it been like seeing everyone out there working? Is anyone kind of surprising you like in a good way in that room?
Yeah, I think we have a whole bunch of good athletes, especially around the edges. It's going to be a pretty hard year for tackles this year. It's insane kind of lineup. You got me, Clev, Tyler, all really good rushers. Then we got people that are just kind of coming out of their shell, like Micah Carter, Maurice Davis. You know those type of guys. So it's a legit 3-4 deep at edge
Mhm.
where everybody can roll.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad you mentioned, it's your fourth year, you're taking on like a leadership role, vocal role. So how has that been for you?
I think it's been good. I think everybody's responding well to when I speak in my leadership. Uh, I think it was something that the coaches have been wanting to see. You know, and quite frankly, I think the players like it. They like to hear from me and help get the juice going or whatever the case may be. I think they feed well off of when I speak.
And you have, a lot of experience coming in too, which is going to help, right? You have Troy Richardson from Vanderbilt. They just had their best season ever, right?
Yeah,
And you got
yeah,
Lincoln coming from Ohio State, and he's been there through it all. So I bet it's really helpful having those guys around who kind of, not that you guys didn't have that mindset, you're winning a lot of games every year, but they can say,
mhm,
here's some added information, some extra voices to help you with that.
yeah, yeah. I think it's good for us because it takes away the you always have to slow down when you have people who haven't really been into the fire yet and explain to them about how hot the fire is. So I think taking that out because we all how the game is. I think it makes it a little bit easier and a little bit easier on all aspects. As far as learning, what to expect out on the field and everything. So it definitely does help having experience come in and be able to add on to the experience that's already here.
Yeah, totally. And so you mentioned, you've seen Lincoln play a little bit. What's been impressing you about him at the quarterback position?
Everything. His arm strength, he can run. I think that's probably the most impressive thing. I think it's been a minute since we had a QB here that could run. So having a QB that could run, and just his physique and how he handled himself, I think that's been real impressive to me. He has, how most people rally behind a QB that got like that QB swag to him. Yeah, he really got that QB swag to him. So I
Yeah.
think as far as everybody trying to get behind him and support him and make sure that he performs, I think it all lines up. If you
Yeah.
ask me.
Yeah, and so you harped on his legs and his athleticism, and I look at this Louisville offense, and I know you're on the defense side of the ball, but it's going to be like the beyond explosive, right? Because the wide receivers like Trey, fast as can be. You got Isaac Brown and Ebon there, Lincoln. So do you think that this team can just be like killed in the run game, be super explosive offensively?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think our run game was never a problem.
Yeah.
That was something that we were really good at since I've been here, running the ball. So I think that's the run game's going to be the run game. I do like, you know, the pass game should be much improved from what I've been seeing in practice and how they're drilling their reps and repetition of throwing and catching. So I expect for our offense to be really explosive like it was the year we had Tyler Shough.